welcome to this pretty unique celebration. North Lawndale will never be 150 years old again. And here we are celebrating it. North Lawndale was incorporated into the city of Chicago on February 27th, 1869. And here we are today, February 27th, 2020. Yesterday was the end of our first 150 years, and today is the beginning of our next 150 years. We, like I said earlier, we really are happy to see North Lawndale turn out like this. Well, let me give you an overview. In 2014, North Lawndale came together and developed a bid for the Obama Presidential Library. Well, during the research for that, we came across our Wikipedia entry. If you Google North Lawndale, the first thing that comes up is usually Wikipedia. In 2015, Riot Fest came to North Lawndale for the first time, and they reported 130,000 people came. Many of those have never been to North Lawndale, and I'm sure many of them have never even heard of North Lawndale. So if they look down the street and they see Ogden Avenue, the beautiful Route 66, and they have any interest at all, Google North Lawndale and our Wikipedia page comes up. But even today, if you do that, there'll be two caveats at the top of the page. This article needs more work. This article may need to be rewritten completely. So we have 130,000 people. They take a look at our Wikipedia page. If some of them were interested in getting involved in North Lawndale in some way, and they saw we had a sloppy Wikipedia page, then perhaps we really weren't worth paying any attention to. So I'm going around, I'm saying, well, let's go in and change Wikipedia. Let's make it right. And the nature of Wikipedia is that anybody can change it. But this gave us an opportunity to get our students to research our history, and then them go in and change it. And during the course of that, they would learn basic research skills, which would carry them over into college and onward. So I'm going around saying this, and then Blanche Suggs Killingsworth invited me to an On the Table. And I'm sitting at her table, I'm espousing about this Wikipedia thing again, and there's a guy sitting next to me that I'd never met before. It turned out it was Peter Alter. Peter Alter is from the Chicago History Museum. And then the next thing I know, he's calling me and said, well, let's go into the schools and get this Wikipedia project done. And we wound up in North Lawndale College Prep. And then we were in DRW. And then we were in Herzl. He had me running. So we're still working on that part of the history project, but then it grew from there. If we're trying to grab North Lawndale's history and we're coming up to 150 years, let's do something special with this. And out of that came the time capsule. But also, I was talking to our Alderman Michael Scott Jr., about this, and he said, well, you know what? Another thing like is a gateway, like the Puerto Rican flag up on Division, or the gateway in Chinatown, or the gateway on 26th and Kedzie. We want to have a gateway for North Lawndale. And then the other part of it was that North Lawndale is surrounded by railroad tracks. No matter which way you come into North Lawndale, you have to come in under a viaduct. So we want to take several of those viaducts and make welcome signs out of them. North Lawndale, 1869 to 2019, or North Lawndale since 1869. So those are the three main components of what we're attempting to do: the time capsule, the viaduct, and the Gateway project. We're still working on the Gateway project, and we're still working on the viaducts. But today, we have the time capsule, and because of you guys, we have stuff to put in it. So, thank you. And when I say we, I mean the North Lawndale Sesquicentennial Committee. I'd like the executive board of the Sesquicentennial Committee to stand up. Peter, Audrey Dunford, and the third member of our executive committee got so frustrated she ran off to Guatemala. Anna Maria Leon, she's done so much for us. So, to Anna Maria. But it wasn't just that's our small group. It was also Jonathan Kelly, who you probably saw out at the table, and Brenda Palms Barber, our amazing Brenda, loaned us one of her people who has been a real help to us, and that's Chandra Van Dyke. Where is she? And so now we're going to start loading this thing up. 50 years is a long time. 50 years ago was 1969, the year I graduated from Farragut. And we were listening to 8-track tapes. Who has an 8-track tape player? Oh, wow. You guys are unique. So because we don't know what the technology will be in 2069, we've included a portable DVD player. And because we don't know what the electric supply is going to be in 2069, we've included a solar power pack. And then your letters and pictures that can also go in there. We're going to do a symbolic closing this evening because I'm sure that all of you will be motivated to get those letters to us as soon as possible. And the process for sealing the capsule is pretty involved. So we'll be doing that after tonight. But I see our alderman is here, so if I can get him to come up and say just 2 words.
Hello and goodbye. No, I'm just playing. I really want to thank Paul for his effort in this. Without I'm sure he's been very modest, and you just don't know how involved he has been in this. And he came to me about 1.5 years ago and said, "Hey, I want to celebrate North Lawndale, which is Lawndale in general, in a really big way." And I thought that was a marvelous idea, and would have loved to be a little bit more involved. Every time they had an event, he did it on the last Thursday of the month, which is my community meeting. But I felt it really important for me to just be here today with all of you and just to celebrate the history of North Lawndale and celebrate us and what we do and how we do it and celebrate us moving forward. There's so many people in the room that do so many things for this community. There are faces that are more seasoned. There are faces that are younger. There are faces that run the gamut in terms of our community and what it is and what it should be and what it is going to become. And with all of your help, we can move North Lawndale to the place that we want it to be. And so I just want to thank each and every one of you, 1, for being here today, 2, for supporting Paul in this effort, and 3, the work that we will continue to do to make Lawndale the way that we want it to be. Thank you.
By the way, these signs that are around here, the alderman supplied those, so thank you very much for that. And while we're talking about the signs, these are yard signs. Of course, they're multi-purpose. You can put them wherever you want. But we have the stakes. If anybody, okay.
What I think is really important in this effort is making sure that we mark our territory, if you will, and making sure that that gateway is done. And so I've committed to Mr. Norrington to making sure that that happens, whether that happens through menu or through TIF or what have you. What are we gonna do about an artist to make it happen? Because I got an idea. But I don't want it to be. I got an idea of how we can hang it. But I do want it to be our project. I want it to be something that is done by community. I don't want it to be all by me. But what I do want you to know is the financial commitment is there to make sure that we do have a gateway here in North Lawndale. It is going to happen way before we turn 200 years old. So I want to make sure that we get it within the next year and a half. So continue to work with Mr. Norrington in his effort, and we will mark our territory.
So I was born in 1952, and we lived at 1311 South Homan. That's a vacant lot now. When I was 7, in 1959, we moved to 21st and Kildare, and that's where I am today in that same house. Although life carries you places, but I'm there now. All of us can look around the community and see the litter. We know about the violence in our communities. We know about the underachievement in our schools. There's something behind all of that. It's my belief, and the main reason why I started to push this, was during the library campaign, I'm running around saying, "Hey, let's go for the presidential library, let's go for the presidential library," and people would say, "Oh, that'd be great, that would be wonderful, but it would never happen here." Or they would say, "Okay, but we have to clean up first, or we have to do this first, or we have to do that first." As if we weren't worthy, as we were, to go after this. In Brown versus the Board of Education, that desegregated the schools back in the 50s, they turned to a psychological study from the 40s. It was called the doll test. Everybody familiar with the doll test? They take identical dolls, except one is black, the other is white. And they say, which one is good, which one is nice, which one is pretty, which one is friendly, which one is safe, which one is ugly, which one is bad, which one is mean, which one is dirty. White doll, white doll, white doll, black doll, black doll, black doll. And these are black kids from like 3 years old to 7. This was done in the 40s. In the 90s, a young black high school female student redid the test with the same results. What does that kid see when they look in the mirror? If what's looking back at them is everything that's dirty and wrong and ugly, what does that make them think of themselves? What does that make them think of you? So, in light of that, it's not completely surprising the amount of violence in our community. It's not completely surprising the amount of litter or the poor school performance. I'm trying to raise that self-esteem, and we're trying to do that by raising community pride, so that when a guy is walking down the street eating a bag of potato chips and walks past a garbage can to throw it on the ground, that won't happen again. Of course, this isn't a panacea. It's to help in that matter. And so that's what we're trying to do. With the gateway, with the viaducts, with the time capsule, all of it is geared toward making our community better by our community feeling better about itself. And we need your help in that. So everything we do is about that. And we've had support from several of our organizations. Let me say this also. So I told you, born in '52. In the 60s, North Lawndale was strong. We had strong block clubs. We had the Greater Lawndale Conservation, the GLCC, where all the block clubs came together and they worked towards something. North Lawndale was strong then. That was my parents' generation. As they grew older and moved on, and my generation was supposed to step up, we left. I left. Many of our best and brightest moved away. I came back later, and other people came back later, and so now here we are trying to make up for that lost time. But there are organizations in the community that are doing some wonderful, great work, and one of them is North Lawndale Employment Network. We're so grateful to that group. And Chandra Van Dyke is here, and she's gonna come up and speak about the North Lawndale Employment Network and its relationship to North Lawndale. Just a couple of minutes. Chandra?
Hi, everybody. How y'all doing? Good. So I'm Chandra Van Dyke McGee. I'm with the North Lawndale Employment Network here in North Lawndale. We've been in North Lawndale for 20 years now. Tomorrow we'll actually be having our tea to celebrate our 20th anniversary of doing the work that we do here in this community. And what we do here, we're a workforce development agency who works with people who've been formerly incarcerated. Let me slow down. And those who have not. So we work with people between the ages of 18 and above. We are specifically focused on the reentry population and youth between the ages of 18 and 24 and helping them to develop the skill set necessary to enter the workforce. What we've done with the committee, I've served in this capacity, representing us on this committee for the last 8 or 9 months, just making sure that we were present and knowing what was happening in the community, but also taking part in this celebration that we thought was pretty amazing, right? North Lawndale celebrating 150 years. We're celebrating 20 great years of doing this work, in addition to our building that we just purchased at 1111 South Holman, celebrating that success. It's been a pretty great year, and it's been great to serve in this capacity. It's really important to Brenda to ensure that we were a part of this celebration tonight. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here because, as I said, our tea is tomorrow. It's a pretty big deal for all of us. We'll all be working pretty late and celebrating all night tomorrow because it's pretty significant work that we've been doing in this community, and we're really excited about what is taking place in this moment. And we're happy to be serving in this capacity, ensuring that we're part of the celebration of North Lawndale today, going forward. And in 50 years, that people know that we were cultivating honey in this community and creating jobs for people who are returning home from jail and prison, ensuring that we create a community that works. So thank you for providing a space for us to celebrate the work that we're doing in North Lawndale, but also to celebrate our community, one which is near and dear to me because this is where I was born, this is home of my family, and this is the home that my husband and his family, and it's everything to us. So I'm happy to be able to serve in this capacity and give back to my community as my community has poured into me. So thank you.
I'm not sure if anybody from UCAN is here, but they were the ones who stepped up first and gave us a pretty substantial donation that really got us moving. And so I really want to thank UCAN, which, by the way, also turned 150 years old last year. And a recent member of our working group, oh shoot, so recent I don't remember her last name, but Sherry, where is she? Where's Sherry? Ah, here's Sherry. And Sherry has been very helpful to what we're doing, her and her organization. And her organization really does mesh in with North Lawndale because, well, I'll let her tell you what they're about. Sherry?
So good evening and happy anniversary to North Lawndale. My name is Sherry Meyer, and my organization is called Insights. I'm an urban geographer, and as a geographer, I look at the dynamic conversation between people and place and how we create the places that we live, how we recreate those places in order to meet our needs, and how they recreate us. And North Lawndale is a pretty amazing place. It joined the city, as we know, 150 years ago. We're starting the 151st year now. It was and is along a major transportation corridor. Today, that highway is known as Ogden Avenue, and for much of the 20th century, it was designated as Route 66. It's right out here, running along the edge of the building. And it was decommissioned officially as a highway in Illinois in 1977. But what the world didn't count on is that people all over the world, because of a song by Nat King Cole, sung by Nat King Cole, and the great mystique of Route 66 that runs from Chicago to LA, more than 2,000 miles all the way, that road has remained alive and a passion in the imaginations of people all over the world, and it is a bucket list destination. It turns out that the first 6.6 miles of Route 66 run through Chicago. 3 of those miles are right here in North Lawndale. And the anniversary of Route 66 is in 2026. So there's another birthday coming through North Lawndale in just a couple of years. And communities all along the length of Route 66, where they were bypassed by the interstate, the same as North Lawndale was. The Eisenhower went on the north side of North Lawndale, and the Stevenson took traffic off of Ogden on the south side. And that's the story of community after community for 2,000 miles all the way. And those communities are rediscovering the heritage and the resources. Places like the Castle service station across the street from here. And there are several service stations that are still here from the earliest 20th century. Ogden Avenue was also a motor row. And just a block or so from here is Al Capone's favorite Cadillac dealership. It's now part of this organization. That building still stands. And there's so much here in North Lawndale, and so many different ethnic groups that have come here, from the Northern Europeans to the Eastern Europeans to the Jewish people to the African Americans. And this is a microcosm of America, and America is a microcosm of the world. And it's all here in North Lawndale. And I was so impressed and amazed when I realized that it was the 150th anniversary, and there was a group meeting in order to commemorate this. And I had the privilege of coming for just the last few meetings and sitting amongst this group and learning how the stories are being told for generation after generation after generation, capturing that and retelling it, and honoring all the people that have lived here and the architecture that was built by earlier generations and has been readapted and used. Some of it is now on the National Register. All of that is here. And I'm so grateful that it is, and that all of you have worked so hard to celebrate it. And I'm looking forward to celebrating with you as well, and getting ready for that next birthday party in 2026. And adding to the time capsule, I'm providing 2 books that were written by a local author about Route 66 in Chicago. And there's a great deal of information in here about North Lawndale. And so this will be in the time capsule for 2069. Thank you, and happy birthday.
I recently drove from Arkansas to Albuquerque along I-40, And it turns out that I-40 is what took over from Route 66. All along the way, going through desert and everything else, you'll see exits along the way, and it would say business route to get you to go through their town. Well, it would say business route Route 66. All along the way, across the entire country, towns and villages and cities do what they can to emphasize their relationship with Route 66. As close as Wyn-Win, if you go into Wyn-Win along Ogden, you'll see all kinds of signs, all kinds of commemoration of being on Route 66. Like I said, across the country, except here in Chicago. There's nothing happening with Route 66 in Chicago, and as she just said, we have 3 miles of it. This started off as an Indian trail to get from the lake to the river. Europeans came in and widened it, and here it is today. Let's make use of our Route 66. Let's make it work for us. So another organization that has been instrumental in what we're doing and carries that same sense of history is the North Lawndale the North Lawndale Cultural and Historical Society. And I mentioned her earlier for putting me together with Peter, and I don't see her. Where's Blanche? And Blanche Sulls Killingsworth.
Hello, everybody. How are you? When I look out in the audience, everybody know me. Everybody know my name. I see so many friends here. And you're my friend because you're Lawndalians. The North Lawndale Historical and Cultural Society was started 5 years ago. We were spent out of the organization of North Lawndale Small Grants. Some of you know about us back then. We granted over $500,000 in grants to this community. I myself is a product of North Lawndale. Proud to say that. First graduating class of Johnson Elementary School. I say a little bit about myself because one thing I've learned living in North Lawndale is to love where I come from and love the people that I grew up with, lived with, raised my son here. The North Lawndale Historical Society mission is to do 3 things: research, educate, and archive the history of North Lawndale. Saying that, we were one of the contributing partners in the Contract Buyers League display about redlining and housing. Previously, Mr. Charles Leaks, who helped start this organization, helped develop what we call Living from North Lawndale, living and learning from North Lawndale. That display is a 31-panel, 6 feet, 4 feet wide, steel display that went on display down at the Chicago Architectural Foundation, the Chicago Agricultural. It's been so many places. The CBL display. How many people know what CBL is? Contract Buyers League. And I say that because those were some strong Lawndale people back then. That young man, he's an older gentleman now, Mr. Clyde Ross, helped start that organization with Monsignor Egan. And he is still alive right there on Florinoff. He's 99 years old now. And I give you a little bit of history about North Lawndale. The North Lawndale Historical Society, we also give tours of North Lawndale for those of you who are interested in going on a tour. As she said, Route 66, you know the old song, get your kicks on Route 66? That's what North Lawndale has done. Now it's time for us to document it. The castle there, Washashki down the street, the Douglas Park Auditorium on Kesey and Ogden Avenue. Back in the day, when the Bohemians were here, You had so many checks in this neighborhood. Anton Dvorak School, which sits on 16 in Central Park, was named after a composer. One thing that we're doing right now is collaborating, shoulder to shoulder and hand to hand with JUF. That's the Jewish community. On Martin Luther King's birthday this year and for the last 5 years, we have gathered together and collaborated and served breakfast to this neighborhood at Stone Temple, where Dr. King did his speech. And I say this because it shows a collaboration of people. You know, I'm a very religious person. I believe that God say, are you your brother's keeper? Ain't that right, Reverend Vessel? I got to love you, and you got to love me, and we got to respect each other. When you look at, one of the things we're working on now is developing a North Lawndale historic, my time up? Okay. North Lawndale historic cookbook. I did pass out some information on that. We are partners with Mr. Norton. Mr. Norton do sit on the board of the Historical Society as well. Paul is a researcher. The other thing that we're getting ready to do, and I want you to fight with me. Now, a lot of you grew up right here like I did, the Central Park Theater. How many people know where the Central Park Theater is at? Don't be ashamed. We went there, you know, them hamburgers and whoopies was 25 cents. Come on, raise your hand now. We need to save that theater. Reverend Scott fought for that and made it his church. Reverend Scott is gone. Reverend Marshall is in charge now. My vision, the Historical Society, is to make that an entertainment center. When I say entertainment, I mean like my friend here, Ms. Azadi, forgive me if I say your name wrong, who's a very good drama teacher. Three Daughters production was in the room. Are you still here, Kim? For those of you who have not seen, we have a movie producer here in North Lawndale, and her 3 daughters produced Red. It was showed at Malcolm X College. That's 3 Daughters production. I have Mr. Sabino back in the back, who's from neighborhood Chicago. I have Reverend Besser here. I am able. I have CCA back there, Reverend Myra Sampson, and I can just go on and on. These are people that make up the history of North Lawndale now and in the future. I told Paul I didn't bring anything to go in the capsule, but maybe I'll hop in there, and when they open it, I'll pop up and say, here I am, thank you.
Okay, like I said earlier, there are 2 other components to what we're trying to do. It's the viaducts and the gateway, and both of those are expensive. To help us out, the Chicago History Museum has put up a couple of, 2 biddable things. This is a silent auction. And they do have some value, but above their value is the value that it is to us, not to me and my group, but to North Lawndale. We need that gateway. We need those viaducts painted. So, please take a look at the silent auction up here, and do some bidding. Okay, and so the next person, the next group to really step up and help us, as I told you, we start off Bohemian, then Jewish, then Black. Jane from the Jewish United Fund has really helped us quite a bit. Jane.
Hi, everybody. So I'm from the Jewish United Fund, Jewish Federation of Metropolitan Chicago. We're the central address of the Jewish community here in Chicago. There are about 300,000 Jews in Chicago overall, in the greater Chicagoland area, and many of them lived in North Lawndale between 1880 and 1950. At one point, there were about 60 synagogues, so 60 Jewish houses of worship here in this neighborhood. Folks moved for a variety of reasons, but people still maintain a relationship to the community, have a very deep appreciation for their roots. One of the main assets that the Jewish community still has here in North Lawndale is the Sinai Health System. It started 100 years ago, so last year, 2019, was the 100th anniversary of the founding of Sinai. It started as a hospital for the Jewish community that was based here, and also a training center for Jewish doctors, because at the time, Jewish doctors couldn't practice in hospitals because there were quotas. Jewish lawyers couldn't join mainstream law firms because there were quotas, so we had to make do. So Sinai Health System maintains its high-level healthcare for all of the community, and as you know, they've expanded in recent years and are looking forward to another century of service. In terms of our involvement with North Lawndale, Blanche has already mentioned our partnership with Stone Temple Baptist Church, and we've been doing the MLK Day celebration, which is the big public event. In addition, we work together on bringing youth populations together. There are some plans for joint sports activities, etc. And next month, there will be a group of Jewish students from University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign who will be spending a part of their spring break here in North Lawndale, being educated about the history of this community and also volunteering at several organizations. So for me, as a person who came to Chicago about 12 years ago and grew up in Russia, in fact, this is a wonderful education in Chicago history. It's not just about North Lawndale. I think this is really a Chicago story. So thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you, to learn from you, and to continue celebrating this wonderful community.
That last thing that Jane said, that this isn't just a North Lawndale story, it's a Chicago story. And too many of our children feel like they live in an isolated area, that they're not connected to anything larger. That's the other thing that we're trying to do, give the sense of belonging. Chicago's history is wrapped up in ours. When the Park District was, not the Park District, but when the parks were formed in 1869, we were a part of that. When the first mayor of Chicago was Ogden, which our street is named after. And we had another mayor who was born just on the other side of Cermak, named Cermak. And we had another mayor. From what I understand, I have not heard specifically, but from what I understand, Rahm Emanuel's family is from North Lawndale also. So we belong to we're part of a larger thing. So let's move on because we're running late. The other organization that's been there right from the beginning, matter of fact, not side by side, but kind of behind me, pushing me, was the Chicago History Museum, and that was through Peter Walter.
Hi, everybody. I'll just talk very briefly about the museum's support and involvement in the Sesquicentennial effort. I'm the chief historian and director of the Studs Terkel Center for Oral History at the Chicago History Museum, and through our Oral History Center, we do collaborative community-based oral history projects using tools of history and oral history for goals of social justice. And in 2016, we did a youth-based project where we worked with middle school students in actually East Garfield Park, here, of course, on the west side, to interview stakeholders, elders, residents of East Garfield. What we discovered in that process was that there was fairly good documentation for the history of the west side for communities like North Lawndale and East Garfield Park through 1968. But after 1968, any sort of historical discussion or original source material really doesn't exist. So as a historian, it's up to me, it's incumbent upon me in my role at the museum to help create that kind of documentation and that memory. So Paul already mentioned how we met at an On the Table event that Blanche brought together under the rubric of the North Lawndale Historical and Cultural Society, and then it went from there. We worked with students at the North Lawndale College Prep Collins campus in the spring of 2017. But really since then, we've been very involved. Shout out to DRW College Prep and the Noble Charter System, which is represented over here. We've worked with their advanced placement students in several of their classes, government, U.S. history, and I believe world history, to conduct oral histories of stakeholders, residents, former residents, and capture those and put those oral histories on our website. We also, in the summers of 2017 and 2017, we worked with two really good rising juniors from North Lawndale College Prep as paid interns that summer conducting oral histories. Then the following summer, we worked with two great students from DRW College Prep, Dylan Owens Dylan Moronis and Devin Owens. Great guys who are now, I guess, roommates at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. And what I'm also going to take the opportunity, we're still doing oral history interviews. In fact, we're going to work with the AP US History class starting in the middle of May at DRW College Prep. We're also going to start working again on the Wikipedia page with the AP Government class at DRW College Prep. So I've been just very grateful and honored to work, of course, with Paul, and we've always been that 1-2 punch of Peter and Paul. Constantly mixing up our names because we look so alike. But I've been very grateful to the residents, the stakeholders, the community organizations in North Lawndale for welcoming me into homes and businesses and schools and organizations. And also, educating me about the history of North Lawndale, especially as it relates to living memory, and how great this community is. I live in Oak Park, right on the Blue Line, so I have a 9-minute ride to the Kedzie Homan stop, and that's my route to North Lawndale all the time. So thank you all for coming tonight and for participating in the project.
And so now we come down to it. Let me describe the stuff that we have so far for the capsule. You see the DVDs. Those are DVDs done by the DVD player, because we don't know whether they'll have a 8-track player in 50 years. And then our power supply is the solar power supply. And then the DVD discs, there are 2 stacks of them. One stack is mine, and the other one is Free Spirit Media's. Free Spirit Media has filmed almost everything we've done, and we're so grateful for them, to them for what they've done. And that's one of the reasons we're not going to do a hard seal on this tonight, because we're going to want this tape in there, and we're going to want that group picture in there also. So there we have it. I'm going to say something to 2069 now. To the people of 2069, this is 2020 now. We are the first day of your 150 years, and I hope that you build on it. But not just build on it. When you open this capsule, take a look at it. Do whatever it is you're going to do with it, but then put the stuff back into your capsule, and then add your stuff, and then seal your 50-year time capsule. and then ask that next group to include our stuff and your stuff into their capsule, and so on and so on and so on. For one thing, change the technology as you go along. So to 2069, thank you for paying attention to us, and keep moving forward the way we are today. Thank you. And so, to all of you, thank you so much for coming out and participating in this. Like I said, this is a soft ceiling this evening. You still have time to get those letters in to put into the time capsule. This is your chance to talk to the future. Remember, a baby born today will be 50 years old when your letter is read. So keep that.
How do we get those letters to you, Paul, to the time capsule?
Yeah, that's the thing. Hold on a second. Because before I gave out my home address, and I didn't feel very comfortable with that. Well, we need a hard address, not just email.
How about the History Museum? They can just mail them to me if you don't want to give out. So if you, there is, what's the website, Paul? nlspirit.org? NL150spirit.org. NL-Spirit. Okay, you say it. 150.org. Okay. So there's an email address there where you could just email your letter. But if you want a good old-fashioned ground mail, you can mail it to me at the Chicago History Museum. And our address is 1601 North Clark Street. And our zip code is 60614. Of course, you can look us up online. And my name is Peter Alter. So you could mail, if you want to do something, a hard copy to me, and I'll pass it on to Paul.
Okay, well, since we're also doing email, then it'll be nlspirit150@gmail.com. nlspirit150@gmail.com. Oh, wow. At 4236 West Cermak Road. The most that's in the K-Town Historic District, and Greater St. Paul Church is the most historically significant building in that district. It's named after a Czechoslovakian free thinker in the 1400s, I believe, or 1300s, Jan Hus. It was a social center for immigrating Czechs coming into Chicago. So yes, please take advantage of that. Forget my address. 4236 West Cermak Road, 60623. And with that, is there anything else? nlspirit150@gmail.com. And let's give this until, we'll give a week.
And if we have them tonight, we can just put them on the table.
Put them right into the time capsule.
Oh yeah. And that's the other thing. Where should this capsule go? Because originally it was going into the base of our gateway, but the gateway is still several years away. Where should it go in the meantime? I had a thought that it should be public, one. So I thought the library and the police station. The problem with the library is that it's not manned 24 hours. It doesn't have any security, and we will be asking it to take on a security function that it's not suited for. The lobby of the police station is out there for everybody to see, but wherever it goes, it's going to have metal bands around it, bolting it to the ground. So that's about as secure as we can make ourselves, and we're all in this together. So in the meantime, think about where it should go until it is put into the gateway. And with that, thank you so much. Happy birthday, North Lawndale. Let's build on this and go for 150 more.